The death of a dove. Over the past year, I've noticed a white dove around my home in random places. She was so pure white, how could I not notice her? She showed up at the most interesting of times, always right within my line of sight, and usually when I've served someone. One time I intervened into HMRC, requesting money from my client that was not due, to a lady I met randomly in Costa Coffee, desperately in need of someone who could help her understand a different meaning to let it go. She didn't understand what she was supposed to let go. After explaining to me the problem, I offered her an insight into my world, sharing my perspective that letting it go really helped anybody, but instead to make sense of her situation was maybe more beneficial, because once she had clarity, she would know what to do next, maybe. She understood that because she thought there was something wrong with her and just needed access to the answer through another door. Another lady channeled through the drawing the face of a regal king. The image she drew sits on my shelf in my office, and he came with a message for me once I'd uncovered who he was. I learned she'd drawn the face of Lionheart, and his firm message to me was this: do not take on other folks' inadequacies. That told me. For some reason, I felt compelled to drive back to the lady and tell her who she'd drawn. I felt like an excited child, but she told me she was going to give it up. Couldn't believe it. I was so in awe of her gift, I asked her not to give it up. Sometimes we just need someone to hold up a light and say, keep going, kid. And I'm glad to report she keeps going. Good for her. Woohoo! Many years ago, I entered spiritual facilitation with a mentor. It was the start of a whole new world for me. As Princess Fiona says in the movie Shrek, by day I am one way, and by night become another. In my life, my world was one way, and through my father's death became another, and my connection to him, source, guides, doorkeeper and ascended master, which funny enough was the same master who watched over my father, as he continued to feed my soul regardless of the work I do for others, be it tax, accountancy, being in service to another, writing, psychometry, or reading from the spiritual plane, and the messages it conveys. I embraced those sessions. I was, and still am, so fed with the insight into a glimpse of what lay beyond the violet mist and everything it has to offer, and the power of the inner child within all of us, and the information and the knowledge that I'm gifted enough to download. The thing is, it sowed a seed in that discipline and my willingness to sit time and time again in the Master's house. Discipline I have in abundance. That seed was sown when I was really young in international sport, and I've never been shy of putting in the effort and doing the work, especially when it comes to what's required of me in order for something to manifest. However, interestingly, on the 8th of November last year, 2021, I witnessed the aftermath of the dove. She was dead on the road, leaving a multitude of white feathers all over my driveway. I was sad for a while as she lay right in my line of sight, but also curious to any deeper message. Curious as I am, I stopped for a while to make a coffee in the kitchen when the message was dropped in. Each time I've launched something, it has been from a disappointment or a tragedy of one sort or another. A personal training practice, currently closed, launched on the back of my bestie taking her own life. I'll spare you the details for now. My tax practice launched when I realised I've got no value where I was working, and my father transitioned into the spirit world. Talk about synchronicity. So what does the death of the dove represent for me? I learn she represents transformation, a sacred messenger that a period of my life is coming to an end, only for a new phase to begin.